Welcome to Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. So, as you know, the 27th of September was Stuff Your Kindle Day for Romance. Happens once every quarter. It's the first time I've ever heard of it. And I was impressed with the quantity of books. There were, I believe, 2,400 titles available for free. I was blown away by that. Just impressive number of titles. I didn't get anywhere near that number, but it was an impressive number of titles. The website wasn't difficult to navigate. I think they could have broken down the categorization a bit better, but I'm not going to complain. It's a massive undertaking, and kudos to the people who run it. They've done an excellent job. It's been going on for quite some time, and I look forward to the next one, which I believe is the 27th of December. So, what did I get? I will leave a link down below to everything I got. It is on my Goodreads. I have created its own listing for it. I will link that listing down below. And I believe I got a total of 137 books, 38 books, which is an impressive number if you just look at the big number. But a lot of the books I noticed when I was going through last night are novellas under 250 pages. So they're not all big, chunky, 400-page plus books. I tried to be very careful when I picked. However, I did notice last night when I was organizing the list that I had a couple of steamy ones slip through, and I usually don't have a problem skipping the stuff I find just inappropriate. If the story itself is good, I can skip over the inappropriate stuff for me and not have it affect my reading choice. I know that's not true for everyone, so I picked, I believe it's 17 books out of that 130 odd to highlight this morning, and they are from I think I'm going to go in reverse order, the lowest rated to the highest rated. So the lowest rated book I got on Goodreads was a rating of 3.32, and the highest rated book I got was a 5.0 book. It is a mix of fairy tale retellings, westerns, contemporary, clean, Regency, Victorian, Christian. Overwhelming majority of them appear to be clean, but you never know what's clean and what isn't until you actually read the book. So the 17 I've chosen, I will give you a brief little blurb off of Goodreads, and it's just a good sampling of what caught my interest. So, without further ado, let's get into it. The first book is the first in the Cinderella series. It is by author K. Ella Wheeler. It is called The Wronged Princess. And the blurb is, even when Cinderella loses her glass slipper, she feels quite smug when Prince Charming announces to his kingdom he'll try the shoe on every maiden until he finds his mysterious princess. Unfortunately, it slides just as easily on her sister Esmeralda's dainty foot. Intriguing premise. It sounds good. So we will see why it has a 3.32 rating. The next book is the first in the 21st Century Austen series. It is by Sarah Marks. Modern Persuasion, a modern romance based on Jane Austen's Persuasion. And I immediately thought of Book Lover Amanda when I read this because I know she's set Persuasion aside for the moment. It made me smile. Emma Shaw is a modern woman with a classic problem. 8 years ago, Emma put her career and family above her own needs. She cut out the man she loves, is exhausted from carrying the emotional load for her family, and her dream career as an editor is on the brink of disaster. Now, she has to face the man she gave up 8 years ago in order to keep her career. When her ex's book launch is in crisis, her bosses coerce Emma to step in to save it, even if that's no longer her job. It sounds like that's going to work for me, so we'll see how it actually is in reading it. I've never read anything by Sarah Marks, so we will see. Most of these authors I have never read anything from, so, it's always a gamble. Gambles pay off, sometimes they don't. Next book is Stolen Spells, Book 1 by Tisha Thauer. The Witch Handbook to Magic and Mayhem. This is a fantasy romance. 5 sisters share one business like no other. Warded by Fey Magic, this shop's inventory shifts to meet the needs of its customers, summoning the sisters whose expertise is required. With Lily behind the counter, it's a candle boutique. Aster manages the bookstore. Crystals are Iris's specialty. Fern sells flowers and herbs, and Daisy tends to the apothecary and oils. It's a seamless system until a particularly perplexing customer crosses the threshold and causes the store's magic to go haywire. As it wildly shifts between facades, one thing becomes obvious. It's up to the flower girls to save this handsome stranger from an ominous threat closing in, if they hope to regain control of their magical shop again. This just sounds interesting to me. And I know a lot of you will have trouble with the content of this book, and that's okay. We all have different levels of comfort, and this one to me just sounds interesting, and I'm okay with that. The next one is the first in the Lady Emily Capers series by Regina Scott. It is known as Secrets and Sensibilities. It has a rating of 3.76, by the way. When art instructor Hannah Alexander agrees to accompany 4 of her students on a country house visit before Easter, she never dreams of entering into a dalliance with the owner David Tennant, the handsome new Earl of Brentfield. But one moment in his company, and she's in danger of losing her heart. There are secrets aplenty at Brentfield, enough to challenge any lady's sensibilities, even those of Hannah's protege, Lady Emily Southwell. As events unfold at Brentfield, Hannah quickly learns that loving David comes at a price. To her future plans of being a portrait painter, to her position as a teacher, and to her very life. And it's listed as a Regency romance. It has the potential, it sounds like, to be a little spicy, but we shall see. You never know. Next up is the first book in the Love Manor series. It is Dating Mr. Darcy by Kate O'Keefe. It has a rating of 3.83. And it is a clean romance, according to Goodreads. Is it a truth universally known that a girl must compete on reality TV to win a modern-day Mr. Darcy's heart? That's the tagline. Interesting tag. The reality TV thing is not necessarily up my alley, but the premise overall sounds interesting. Clothing designer Emma Brady is having serious doubts about how far she'll go to promote her new active line wear. Sure, being on a reality show would be great for business, but is putting up with Mr. Darcy wannabe Sebastian Huntington Ross really worth it? It just sounds cute and fun, and you know, who doesn't love a clean Pride and Prejudice retelling? So now the next one is the first book in the Cornerstone series. It is by Krista Norman. It is called Goodbye Magnolia. It has an average rating of 3.87. It is Christian romance. And its description says, wedding photography is Maggie's passion. The art of capturing a moment forever in time is magical to her. And she has worked hard to become the best of the best. Week after week, she works with couples as they plan their happily ever afters, but she hasn't been so lucky in love. Behind the camera, it's easy to hide from the pain and rejection of her past. The life she has made for herself is safe and predictable, until the owner of a rival photography studio sets up shop in her small town and comes to her with an unexpected proposal. Suddenly, everything she has worked so hard to build is threatened, and her simple, controlled life is thrown into chaos. As she travels the state of Michigan photographing weddings, she struggles to keep her business afloat and the wall around her heart intact. But along the way, she learns more about loyalty and love than she ever imagined. So it has possibilities. It does have some red flags there for me. It sounds like she's holding on to grudges, and that, as we all know, is something I. Ugh. Next up is the first in the Gentlemen of London series. It is by Laura Beers. It is a treacherous engagement. It has an average rating of 4.0. It is a clean historical Regency romance. And it says he was only supposed to find her sister. Falling in love wasn't part of the agreement. Miss Dinah Ashmore has a problem. Her sister has gone missing, and the constable isn't taking it seriously. She decides to take matters into her own hands by hiring a Bow Street runner, not understanding the danger she has put herself in. Nathaniel Calvert, Earl of Hawthorne, is an agent of the Crown. His assignment is to root out a radical group and bring them to justice. When Miss Ashmore mistakes him as a Bow Street runner and explains her plight, he suspects that the missing sister might be connected to his case. I am very interested in this book. This is one that has been on my radar, I think, for a while, and I can see this one slipping into my reading very, very easily. Next up is a standalone by Elsie Woods. It has an average rating of 4.13. It is called Falling for French Kisses. When small town Natalie takes on the glamour of Paris, she quickly realizes she's a Texas Longhorn in the city of French poodles. Armed with a smile and a can-do attitude, she enters the fierce culinary world of Olivier Dubois, a French billionaire as intoxicating as a glass of fine Bordeaux and as forgiving as a stale croissant. So when Natalie causes a culinary disaster in Olivier's restaurant, Natalie finds herself in debt and facing an unusual. There's some words missing right there. Pay up or become the living caretaker to Olivier's feisty grandmother. Amid the family drama, Natalie soon discovers there's more to Olivier than the mischievous glint in his eye and the perplexing engagement ring on his finger. And the feeling is clearly mutual. Oh, I'm sorry. It is a series. It's not listed as such, but there are 2 more books after it. So we'll say this is the first in the series. This looks cute. We'll see if it lives up to its billing. The next up is, I believe this is the first book. It is The Rules of Matchmaking by Rebecca Connolly. It is the Castle and Courtship series. It has an average rating of 4.19. It is a clean Regency romance. Jane Richards is not interested in a marriage at the moment, nor is she particularly concerned about it. The season is an opportunity to be out and about, to engage with others, and to experience all that life and London have to offer. A house party to a castle in the Cotswold isn't exactly what she had intended, but her curiosity gets the better of her, and she accepts. When she notices a gentleman who would be utterly perfect for one of her oldest friends, she determines she must intervene to make the match between them. But it will require help. Simon Appleby isn't sure why he agreed to the house party in the Cotswolds, but it is better than enduring excess events in London, all engineered to force romantic connections among society. But even he must admit that his friend has found his perfect match among the party guests, and is going to ruin his chances if left to his own devices. Simon finds himself colluding with the amusing, if willful, Jane Richards to throw their friends together at every possible opportunity, finding more entertainment in interfering than he ever could have imagined, and more surprises than he had counted on. This sounds so perfect, and it like a sounds like a match in the making by Jen Toronto. I love the cover. This book is probably ending up on my reading sometime very soon. Next up is the first book in the Lonely Heart series by Audrey Harrison. It has an average rating of 4.19. It is Lady Edith's Lonely Heart. And I love this cover. I truly love this cover. And this is a Regency romance. She is under pressure to find a husband she doesn't want. He keeps to the fringes of society because of family constraints. Will the written word be enough to bring 2 lost souls together? I don't want to read anymore because it will spoil it for me. This one, I am definitely reading. There is something about that book that is calling to me. Next up is the second book in the Midlife in Mosswood series by Louisa West. It is Jealousy's a Witch, and it is a fantasy romance. It is a short 215 pages. Another new to me author, another book many of you won't be comfortable with, and that's fine. I'll read you the blurb. It has an average rating of 4.27. She thought her life couldn't get any stranger. Boy, was she wrong. Rosemary Bell's ex-husband is now a turtle. She's suddenly witch royalty. Her daughter Maggie's new best friend is an imaginary kangaroo hopping around the forests of Mosswood, Georgia. And her witch king Declan isn't making her life or her couch's throw pillows any cushier. This just has that fun, lighthearted fantasy feeling, and I'm here for it. All right. Next up is book number 3 in the Unconventional Ladies series by Ellie St. Clair. It is The Lady of Providence. I love this cover. This cover is so stunning. This is a historical romance. A perfect lady, an impeccable duke, a past betrayal that changes everything. Elizabeth Moreland is seen as the perfect lady, the epitome of grace and propriety. Yet, she yearns for the opportunity to work in the world of which she is enamored, a world seemingly reserved for men, banking. When her beloved grandfather passes away, she is both devastated and shocked when the reading of the will reveals that he left all, his inheritance as well as his senior partnership in the bank, to her. Gabriel Lockridge, the Duke of Clarence, has everything a man could want, yet is continually bored with life and always in pursuit of a challenge. He is intrigued by the latest fortunes of Lady Elizabeth Moreland, a woman he wronged many years ago. When her cousin requests his help in destroying her reputation and newfound position, Gabriel agrees, though he has other motives in mind. Elizabeth must learn to fight in order to uphold what she believes in and fulfill the wishes of her grandfather. She has little time to determine the true intentions of the man she once thought she loved, but he is slowly beginning to find his way back into her life. Among all the adversaries against her, will Elizabeth choose to open herself up to the risk of love or heartbreak? Or will she remain determined to keep her heart closed forever? This sounds like a protagonist right up my alley, a strong female lead that is confident and sure of herself and willing to stand up for herself. And I am very much here for that. Next book, Bought the Farm Mystery, the first in the series, by Ellen Riggs, Dogcatcher in the Rye. And this is not a romance, it is a cozy mystery. We all know I love me a good cozy, so this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. It has an average star rating of 4.39. Turning a hobby farm into a quaint country inn is a piece of cake compared to solving a murder. Ivy Galloway may not know an alpaca from a llama, but nothing's going to stop her from pursuing her dream of opening a farm-themed inn in her hometown of Clover Grove. Not after what she went through to rescue Keats, her brilliant border collie, and flee the big city. When Keats finds a body pushing up daisies in her rye field, however, the murder puts a blight on Ivy's plans to welcome her first official guest in just 3 weeks. The police chief refuses to rush his investigation. Does he really believe she's a suspect, or is he just holding a grudge over what happened in high school? To clear her name, Ivy starts digging up clues. The former HR exec is no stranger to interviewing, and Keats is a dog who loves a job. As she juggles sleuthing with getting the inn ready to launch, she almost reaches the end of her tether. With her beloved farm's very future on the line, can she solve the case before the killer comes after her next? Yeah. We all know I'm going to read this book. We all know I'm most likely going to fall in love with it if the writing is good. So, don't be surprised when we hear more about that really soon. Next up is the second book in the For the Love of Fiber series by Kate Bowman. It has an average rating of 4.43. And I am going to assume that this is a romance. It does not say what genre this book is. And here is the description. Cara Olson is forced to put aside her struggling career in Chicago to care for her ailing grandmother in Wisconsin. While journeying with her beloved Graham through the diagnosis of possible Alzheimer's disease, she loses and then rediscovers her passion for art and experiences the resurrection of a past love. Yep. That sounds like something Tammy's going to read. Next up, I believe this is part of a series, but it doesn't say so here, but I have a feeling it is. It's very short. It's 142 pages. It is Rose, an Oregon Ever After fairy tale retelling by Morgan Dawson. It has an average rating of 4.44. And like I said, it's a whopping 142 pages. A magical Beauty and the Beast retelling set on the Oregon Trail. Rose grew up with the magic of her mother's storytelling, but has come to realize that happily ever afters might only belong within the pages of her books. After being sold by her cruel uncle, she's left to decide whether to flee from the frightening man who bought her or take his offer of a journey of a lifetime. Duncan has scars, inside and out. Wanting a fresh start to escape the past that constantly threatens him, he decides to take on the difficult adventure to Oregon. But when he comes across a young girl at an auction just before setting out, he has to make a decision that could have the power to change his life forever. Can love be found despite the trials of the trail? And can even the deepest scars find a way to heal? I'm interested. It's short, so you never know. Next up is Starting Over in Sedona by Len M. Spring. It has an average star rating of 4.64. And this has no categories attached to it. I am sure this is romance. And it is a Sedona Silver romance book, first in the series. Answered that question, didn't I? Okay, here's the blurb. When her estranged sister issues a deathbed summons, Sue hurries to Sedona to reconcile. She's been told she'll inherit her childhood homestead at last. But with Roseanne, nothing is ever that simple. Rafael Palieso has been given the chance of a lifetime to acquire a priceless Red Rock Mesa with a killer view. As the premier developer in Sedona, he will have no trouble finding a wealthy buyer and making a bundle. There's just one problem. When Sue and Raphael meet, they're horrified to discover Roseanne is leaving them the property jointly. Now they're pitted against each other for control of the land and their hearts. This is a later in life romance, is how it is billed. I am one of those later in life people. So we will see. I've been to Sedona many times, so it will be a familiar landscape for me. And now the last book. It is a book number 2 in the Blossom Inlet series by Sandra Bass Jones. It has an average star rating of 5. The only one on this list that had an average rating of 5. Dual timeline novel set along the forgotten coast of Florida and follows Izzy and Teddy's lives from the 1950s and 60s to present day. Welcome to Blossom Inlet, where memories are made and secrets are protected. Izzy didn't choose a life without love. Blossom Inlet chose that curse for her, just as it had for her mother and her grandmother. 60 years after Teddy shattered her teenage heart, he once again stands on her doorstep, begging for a second chance and refusing to leave until she hears him out. She doesn't want to believe the sheer number of letters he wrote and the phone calls he made, until a picture of her controlling mother flashes through her mind. While old feelings of heartbreak and bitterness resurface, Izzy must decide whether to choose love before it is too late or fulfill her destiny of a loveless life by sending Teddy away. Last Waltz in Blossom Inlet is about loss, resentment, forgiveness, and coming to realize it's never too late for love. It is only 204 pages. It's not a huge investment. So I can see this happening. And you know me, I love a good old people falling in love story. So did you find any deals on, or any deals? Did you find any good books on the Stuff Your Kindle Day for the third quarter? Are you looking forward to the one in the fourth quarter? Leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.